CP and SJ with you here from every day we're covering. We're to the round of 16, the Sweet 16, and we've got some good basketball hopefully on the way here for you. And we're going to take a look at these games and hopefully give you some good picks and some things to look out for here on the gambling front. SJ, we talked when it gets to this round, usually you're going to end up with some pretty good basketball.
Yeah, for sure. And the matchups on paper at least look like, look the part. There's Cinderella or two potential out there still. So we're going to, hope that happens at least in some cases. But yeah, on paper, like I said, it should be a hell of a weekend.
We'll start off with games that will go on Thursday, and the first one to tip off will be Arizona taking on Clemson. Right now, I'm seeing it as Arizona laying 7.5. The over under at 152. SJ and I both use different books, so we might have little tweaks here and there as we go through this. But SJ, what are you looking at in that game?
Yeah, I'm actually getting that 7.5 too, and I do like it. It does seem maybe a little bit on the high side, a tad, just for this, this deep in the tournament. But Clemson I think they kind of maximized last round, and Arizona's looked almost as close to unbeatable, except for maybe save for UConn as anybody in the tournament. I guess you could put Purdue in that category as well, but I like them to cover, even though it's a little bit bigger number.
Yeah, I'm not going to make it too much more interesting for anybody because I like the same exact thing. I think Arizona's got too many players, kind of the depth between the guards and the front court. Like they've got some guys inside that can really do some damage, and I don't think Clemson has the matchups that they're going to want here in this game. So we both like Arizona laying the 7.5. We go to San Diego State taking on UConn. UConn right now I've got them laying 10.5. The over under at 136. And I guess I'll kick this one off. First of all, I like UConn to cover the spread. I think they'll easily cover that 10.5. Even though San Diego State, obviously a team that made it to the championship last year, should deserve a little bit of love. But this is a UConn team that's rolling right now. And I also like that over. 136 doesn't seem like too high of a mark to get to, especially what UConn will probably put up in this game. So I would go both of those routes. How about yourself?
As you said, with the books a little different there, I was able to get it at 135.5. I do think it can be a blowout, but I'm a little leery being maybe a late run gets it under that 10.5, maybe in a 10-point win. But I do think UConn will win fairly easily. But I'm gonna go in my mind a little safer route and take that over, and I have 135.5.
All right, going to the next contest a little bit later in the evening. Alabama taking on North Carolina. Right now, North Carolina laying 5 in that game. I have the over under at 174. What do you like there?
Yeah, I like Carolina to cover that one. It does seem I believe I played 4. Sorry for all the dissension here, but I mean that's the way it goes. We got to shop around a little bit, and even this with these rounds, you can get your plays in as early as possible if that's an option for everybody out there. Just that those numbers change a lot, especially when we get this deep in the tournament. So I played them at -4, and I think that's actually a fairly low number, which makes me a little concerned that I may go the other way.
Yeah, that is an interesting game. That over total to me seems quite a bit high. That's a big one to reach when you're getting this far deep in the tournament. You got to be pretty much on point offensively for both teams to get to that point. So I like the under here in this game, staying under that 174. Could be a fun game, and I'm going to watch that kind of line a little bit closer as we get closer, because if it goes a little bit higher than that, then I would probably take Alabama just because I think it's going to be an interesting game at the end. The nightcap on Thursday has my Iowa State Cyclones trying to advance to the Elite Eight against the Illinois Fighting Illini. What I'm looking at right now is the Cyclones laying 2 and the over-under total at 146. I'm fully drinking the Kool-Aid, SJ. I'm Iowa State. I think they're going to win this game by more than 2 points. If it gets much more than that, I would be a little bit iffy because I think it's going to be a really tight one. But I just don't feel like Illinois has played a team that's going to play the kind of defense that Iowa State's going to throw at them, and that's going to throw that guard court there a little bit off for the Illini. So I'm going to go Cyclones to lay that too.
Kind of like we've been saying ever since this matchup, we saw a potential there. To me, it is really a 50-50 matchup. That over, even for these teams with a lot of high scoring attacks, this seems a little bit high. And the value for me is just at taking Illinois on the money line. You're still getting plus money there, and being only a 1.5 point spread. that's basically a pick 'em, or if close you're going to get there. So and I got to kind of stick to my guns there, but literally I would not be surprised whoever wins this game. I expect this, honestly, this could be the best game of the whole Sweet 16.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. We deserve some good ones here along the way. As we get to Friday, NC State, kind of the upstart team here that's been on one hell of a run at the end of the season to get to this point, taking on Marquette. I've got Marquette laying 6, the over-under total at 151. What do you like there?
Yeah, I mean, it's you could definitely see NC State kind of keeping that momentum going. At the same time, at some point it's got to run out, and I'm not exactly a confident in Marquette doing anything when the lights are on and the pressure's kind of cranked up. But it's more of a fact that I think NC State's just kind of they're going to run out of juice at some point. I think that's going to be this round, and I'll even take Marquette to cover. That 7 points is kind of a lot, but or it'd be 6.5. I get 7. 6
Yeah.
is the spread, but yeah, still, I just think Marquette or NC State's just going to run out of juice here.
Yeah, this is a really tough one to call for me. I'm going to keep an eye on that if it changes before Friday. If it gets any higher, I still think that I feel like this is still going to come down a little bit closer than people are going to like at the end. So I think I'm going to go the other way. I think NC State stays within that 6. It's going to be right on that edge, I think, is the way this one's probably going to play out. But I'll go that route on that one. We move on, and Gonzaga taking on Purdue, and Purdue laying 5, the over-under at 154.5. This is going to be another interesting game. I really don't know what to take away from these two teams so far. What Gonzaga has accomplished over the past decade is just incredible. When you look at the number of Sweet 16s that they've made now, Mark Few has done an awesome job there, and they just continue to roll. But Purdue has looked pretty good. I mean, they've kind of dispelled some of that, worries that they had coming into the tournament. Are you going to be able to play on the big stage and put teams away? And they did that the last round pretty well. This is one I think this is still probably going to get interesting. Purdue's going to make this interesting because they're going to let Gonzaga maybe rally a little bit, I feel like. So I'm going to take the Zags getting that 5. And this is one, if you're going to take a flyer on a game, it's plus 205 right now on the money line for Gonzaga. So I wouldn't hate somebody for putting a little cheese on that.
No, and you wouldn't even call that a long shot, considering like you mentioned, the success that Gonzaga has had. I heard the stat. What is it? 9 Sweet 16s in a row or something like that. That's just. I mean, even for how good they've been, that kind of blew my mind. I was like, I didn't in a row. I mean, that's incredible. And the thing with them, at least in my mind and my memory, and of course, maybe it's just my perception of it. So I'm willing to admit that. But it seems like Gonzaga kind of does better as the underdog. We've seen the last couple of years, even when they were 1 seed, and the path was there to kind of win it all easily, and they weren't able to get the job done. I know a few years back as a number 1 seed. That kind of sticks in my mind. But at the same time, I think Purdue is due for a nail biter, if you will, a close game. So I'm also going to take Gonzaga to cover the spread. And I got a 5.5 here. So I mean, we're basically sitting the same. We need a 6-point win, or within 6 points, less than a 6-point loss. So I can see that happening. I think maybe Purdue gets a decent lead and then kind of has to hold off a late charge there, and kind of that might be their oops moment here in the tournament so far, at least. But I think they'll be good enough to pull it out. But it could be a hell of a matchup there.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling that's how it's going to play the same way. We'll obviously get to find out with our own 2 eyeballs. 8:40 tip time later than on Friday. Duke taking on Houston. I've got Houston laying 4. The over under at 134.5. What do you like in that one?
Honestly, this is one of the easier picks for me, and it sounds weird, I guess, just if you look at the jersey or the name, or kind of just what you're used to seeing. I think Houston's going to cover that number and do it easily. I may even bump it up to 7 or 8 points, depending on what kind of value you can get. I'll take the 4 for now, but that's something to watch too. I just think it's a bad matchup, and I know they haven't played the best competition, but I do think Duke has kind of overachieved a bit, considering what kind of the season they had compared to their standards. Don't get me wrong; they're still a quality team, but I just think that's not. It doesn't it's not going to be something that's going to make them look as they've looked in the first 2 rounds. Put it that way. Houston's just one of those, freaking, I don't even want to call them grimy, gritty. They're obviously talented, but they're in your ass for 40 minutes, and I don't think that's a good recipe for a Duke team.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going the same way. It did make me kind of pause a little bit the way that Duke has played early on here in this tournament, because they certainly have looked good. But like you mentioned, maybe that's part of the competition and the matchups for them so far. They've been a team too throughout the year that's kind of had those down moments. And this looks like that spot. This looks like one of those Carolina games where the pressure gets built up and then they don't meet the moment. And Houston, they had their kind of skin on their teeth game last time. So I think they've kind of gotten past that. They know how to win those close games, and that backcourt, those guards are just so good. Jamal Shead is tough to stop, and guards always win when it comes tournament time. So I'm going Houston. I'll lay that 4, and I'm like you. I probably look to see what kind of value you can get if you push that up a little bit. And then we cap things off with the Creighton Blue Jays taking on the Tennessee Volunteers. Vols right now laying 2.5, the over-under at 143.5. And I kind of get the same feeling on this game as you led into the last one. I just feel like this is a good matchup for Tennessee. We talked about it on the pod here this week in depth, who's going to guard Connect for Creighton. They don't have that person to match up, and honestly, that's not who they are. They're not a good defensive team. Now, granted, Tennessee had their struggles offensively last time around, but when they get it clicking, I think they're going to do enough, and they're going to guard that 3-point line a little bit better than other teams have against Creighton so far. So I like the Vols to lay that 2.5, and that's another one where I might see what kind of value I can get if I bump it up a little bit, maybe to about 5 or so.
Yeah, same thing. The more kind of in lockstep again, just the matchup is favorable more towards Tennessee than the other way around. And like you said, Tennessee does struggles, but Creighton, I mean, they're an inch away from being at home already with that floater. They're at the end of regulation from Oregon. They could very well not be here. So I think they've had they had their struggle as well. So it's not like they're kind of, if they were skating in and maybe had won their first games by 10 or 15 points, might kind of change your perspective. But this, as far as the matchup goes and just the style of play, I think Tennessee's is more conducive to a March Madness tournament type setup, and I think they'll, like you said, win easily. And I would definitely look at that moving that line as well.
All right, that's what we've got here for the round of 16 of the NCAA tournament. Of course, then we'll move right into the Elite Eight here over the weekend. We'll probably throw something back at you again because there's just a few games to look at there as well. And we'll probably have a few Steve Weisers along the way this weekend. SJ, you agreeing with that?
Yeah, it sounds like maybe we'll be seeing the sun again and a little bit warmer temps. I'm kind of over this back and forth. Cold, hot. Let's get it together. It's spring. Let's get out on the porch, get out on the the deck, get out playing some some bags or what have you, and enjoy this weather and get some cold ones like you mentioned.
Exactly. Let's get spring rolling here. Follow us on socials at SJM Bets, at Cherokee CP on Twitter. We'll put the graphics up there for you. And of course, then we would appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and get the notifications here on YouTube. And then also listen to the pod. All the different platforms that you could possibly dream of, we're there for you, including here on YouTube on the channel. So listen in to every day we're covering. That's SJ Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. We'll see you next time around for some more covers.